Alright there, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. Another video on Old Red, our Project 1983 Peterbilt 359. Now in today's video, we need to get the overhead finished up on this. Those of you guys that watched the last video know that I had started on it and I ordered the wrong gaskets, so I just kind of slapped this back together here real quick, and I gotta go through and try to finish this up. So now I'd already kind of started recording the video and doing the overhead on this, but I kind of forgot exactly where I left off here, so we're just gonna start over. I do gotta try to run through this here fairly quickly, so I don't have a lot of time today, and I need to get my other truck in here and get some maintenance done on it. So I apologize if this video may seem a little rushed. Okay, so we've got the valve covers off. Next we got to take the Jake brakes off. Now I only had these snug down here. Okay, so I barred the engine over so that I got timing mark A lined up to this pointer here. Okay, now you see when we look at this chart, we got two different valve sets for pulley position A. We either got set injector 3 and valves on 5, or we got set injector 4 and valves on 2. So we go over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you can see that the valves are tight. There's no play in them. So position A, 3, and 5 is not the one that we're on. We're on 4 and 2. So if we come over here to cylinder 2, so here's the first injector, here's the second injector, so this is cylinder 2. We have lash in those valves, so that's the valve set that we're on. You can always tell the exhaust valve on these because it's got the wide bridge here. You can see that you've got one rocker arm that actuates two valves, and those are your two exhaust valves. Your exhaust side has the wider bridge for the Jakes. You'll notice the intake valve here, the bridge is only as wide as the rocker arm here, and you can see on this side you got machine surface to both sides, so this is your exhaust valve. We got 11 thousandths for the intake and 23 thousandths for the exhaust. It's actually a hair tight. Just set these. So then after you've set your lash on these two valves, we're going to go to injector 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you crack this jam nut loose, back this off, run it down, back it off again, set it to 6 inch-pounds. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and so then after that, we know that we were in this position. So A, injector 4, 2, then you just start going down the list. You bar the engine over to B, and you're set injector 1 and valves on 4. Then you're do C, 5 and 1. Then you come back to A, which will be the next position when you roll it over, and you do injector 3 and valve 5. Then position B, injector 6, valves 3, then C, injector 2, valve 6, and then you're back to where you started and you're done with your valves. I'm going to go ahead and run through these again here real quick, and then we're start putting the jakes on. We're set the jakes, go from there. Okay, so a friend of mine stopped by and I kept working, but I am now on timing mark B, valve 3. So that's this one here. I'm going to stick the feeler gauge between the crosshead and the actuator there, crack your nut loose. Then you're going to adjust your jake. Okay, so the jake is adjusted. Run that down. Disagree with doing it like that, but snug that down. I'll hold the adjustment nut with a wrench. Torque it to 40 foot-pounds. And then we recheck our lash, make sure that we're still good. And we are. So the next we're turn it to position C and do valve 6, and then we'll be back to where we started again. Okay, so we're now on timing mark C. You can double check, make sure that the rocker is loose. Okay, so we're loose. Go ahead and crack the jam nut loose. Put our feeler gauge in there. Mother. I just dropped my wrench down the push rod tube. Alright, so I got my wrench out. Also got the broken pieces of piston squirter, a small nut, and more broken pieces of piston squirter. So it seems I had to go ahead and drop the pan off to get the wrench out. Figured I'd pull a rod bearing and see what I had for rod bearings. I didn't know if they were going to be standard or oversized, so pulled the rod bearing out, and they are dated 9 of 02. This truck was last on the road in 05, and these things look like brand new. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see under here, but crank looks fantastic. Look up in here at the pistons and the rods. They look like brand new. The liners look absolutely perfect. There's not a single scuff on any of them. Even number 1 up here, which had the broken piston squirter on it, that liner looks absolutely perfect. This engine can't have more than 100,000 miles on it from what I'm seeing under here. Oh. Yeah, every single piston, rod, and liner looks just perfect. It looks brand new under here. Find my wrench. I pulled this cam box off, the follower box, whatever you want to call it. The cam looks fantastic. All the rollers and followers look fantastic. I need to get a new gasket though. I kind of messed up the gasket taking that off. So I need to get a new gasket there. But I am extremely happy about the way the inside of this engine looks. I don't think this engine could have even 100,000 miles on it, to be honest, from what I'm seeing. I don't think I've ever pulled a rod bearing out of an engine that still looked like this, even with very low miles on it. And being dated 9 of 02, and knowing that this truck was taken off the road in 05, and it's rare a bearing ever goes in an engine as soon as it's manufactured. So if this truck was so if this truck was end-framed sometime in 03, you know, you're only talking about a year and a half at the most worth of miles put on this thing, and who knows how much they were even using it at that point. So I don't know that I even need to roll rods and mains in this thing, because the rod bearings are perfect, and the rod bearings take more beating than the mains do. So I think we're going to order a couple more gaskets. We're going to get an oil pan gasket, get the gasket for the cam follower box there, and probably put this thing back together. Now, it was supposed to be just a quick finish. The overhead on this didn't have a whole lot to do on it. Did kind of turn into a much bigger deal just with dropping a wrench, because I'm a clumsy So anyway, I was really hoping to have this finished up to back to running and driving here today, because it is raining outside and I got to do some work on the Mac. But I'm gonna have to order more parts, so it's gonna have to sit in here. And but you know, I really don't see any reason I need to roll rods and mains in this thing. The rod bearings look perfect. The rods typically take a lot more of a beating than the mains do. So I think, yeah, just got to order some gaskets and put this thing back together, and the engine's going to be basically done, minus coolant lines. Still got to drop the coolant, change coolant lines, but... A little bit of engine assembly lube. Take this bearing, roll it into the top. Make sure it's seated in there. Then we can pull this back down onto the crank. Like so. Alright, so we're all torqued up here now. It's 75, 75, 150, 150. Back them all the way off till they're loose. Then same thing again, 75, 75, 150, 150. And then your rod's torqued. These go to, your mains go to 250. They go up in a couple of different steps. I forget off the top of my head, but I just torqued this one, so it's 75, 75, 150, 150. Then back them off and do it again. And that's done. Alright, so it's several days later here now, and I had to order some gaskets. I had some loads I had to go haul, but I got the cam followers back in, and it's time that we start putting 5 and 6 back together here on the valve train. Now it's important to make sure that you keep track of where these came from. The injector push rods are a slightly different length. But I took these off and I laid them out in the order that they came out so that we can put them right back where they were. Just gonna look down here with the light and be sure that all these push rods are sitting where they're supposed to be. Gonna put a new rocker box gasket on here. Help to flip it around the right direction. Let's see. Double checking that we got all of our push rods properly aligned on the rockers and that none of them came out of their ball on the cam followers, and we look good there. Okay, so jakes are on, torqued to 60 foot-pounds, set jake number 6. Now I got to roll the engine back around basically 2 full revolutions, or almost 2 full revolutions back to position A. See, we're in position C here. You got to go all the way down through, back up, and then when we're on valve 5 position again, we're set the jakes on valve 5. Alright, so we got all of our valves, all of our jakes, everything set up top. I think we can go ahead and start putting valve covers back on. Alright, so next here we're going to change this broken piston squirter. It's on number 1 here, so it's behind the alternator. So I had to take the alternator loose and rock it as far forward as I could. But I do believe that that will give me enough room to change this out. Okay, so here's what's left of the broken one. Here's the new one. It's the new one there. so that's number 1 piston oiler installed. Good to go. Belt's back on, tightened down. Now for those of you guys that might be wondering what a piston oiler is, see, maybe, I don't know if you can see it on camera there, but right up in there where I'm pointing, you'll see that thing sticking out, and basically what that does is it shoots oil right at the bottom of the piston, which helps cool the piston, and that's what a piston oiler does. Okay, so the oil pan's all cleaned out, nice and clean. I've got the new gasket is spray glued on here just to hold it in place, so I don't have to fumble with it when I'm trying to get this up in there. And we just gotta hoist this up under there. And alright, so we got everything back together. It is full of oil. Hard to see because it's brand new clean oil. We're right on the full line. All the oil pan bolts are torqued down. Everything's torqued. Everything's ready to go. I think we're ready to fire this thing up. Cross our fingers. Hopefully everything goes here well. I really don't like to do things like this where it takes me 3 weeks to get something done, because it's easy to forget things, but I think I've gone over and I've checked everything. Everything should be good to go. So we're going to go ahead and fire this thing up and see how she runs. Oh yeah, she's purring. I think you guys will be a lot happier with that oil pressure. It was running just a little over 20 on cold start, and it was down to about 16, 17 with warm oil. So we're running a little over 40 here now on cold start. Seems to be burning a little cleaner too. So it's been sitting here running for about an hour here now, and we got 30 psi oil pressure. 160 degrees on the water temp. About 125 on the engine oil temp. Probably not going to get much warmer than that just sitting here idling. I think we'd have to take it down the road to get it warmer than that, but I think I'm pretty happy with that. This cam follower that I had off is leaking just a little bit from the back corner there, so you know, I knew I should have pulled that starter out of the way when I did that, but I was able to snake it in and out of there. And just should have pulled that starter out. Hopefully I can just get in there and snug the bolts up a little bit and it'll be good. If not, I might have to pull the starter off and reseal that again, but hopefully that won't be the case. So anyway guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe down below. Thank you. Have a great day.